Hello, everyone. I welcome you to this week's episode of Spiritual Mirror. And the topic we'll be dealing with this week is working together for good. And our core scripture will be taken from the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28, which says, "And we know that all things work together for good to those who love God and those who are called according to his purpose." This is another important scripture that majority of us are familiar with. But as we usually do in this channel, the most important thing is that we want to dissect this scripture so you can have a better understanding of it. A great revelation from God concerning each of the scripture we consider. And today we are looking at this important scripture that most of us even quote. We quote it to suit our purpose. We quote it to help us in our journey as a Christian and in everything we do as a way of comforting ourselves. But we want to look at that scripture very well. There are about 3 aspects of that scripture. But we only focus on one, which is not good. We need to understand every aspect of that scripture. The first aspect is that he said that, and we know that all things work together for good, which is one aspect of the scripture that most of us usually quote. And the second one is that this working together for good for us is not by accident. It can only work together for good for those who love God. That is number 2 aspect of that scripture. And the third aspect is that those who are called according to his purpose, that is the purpose of God. So when you now look at the scripture in this realm, we want to understand the 3 aspects of them. Number 1 aspect is that, and we know. You want to ask yourself, are you surely know? Are you sure about what you are saying, that you know that all things work together for good? When you say that all things work together for good, it means that whatever comes your way, whatever you have as a Christian, and whatever situation you find yourself, you have firm belief that everything is working out for a particular purpose for you. You may write one exam and you are expecting a particular score and you don't get that score. You have that belief that that score you did not get, at the end of the day, it's going out to work out for good for you for a particular purpose. You may not know the purpose now, but you are going to know it for later. You may be thinking that, I'm looking for a wife, I'm looking for a husband, I want to get married at a certain age, and you are unable to get married at that particular age. If you are a Christian, you will know that God is working out something good for you if you are a genuine Christian. That every time at the end of the day will work out for good for you. You may be even think that I want to get a particular job, and I want to get it on time in a particular career, and it may not work out the way you want it. You may even be sick, and you are seeking for healing at a particular time, and that healing may not come. It may not come at the time you want it. And the other things you may be experiencing, which are not even something palatable to your taste as Christian. But when you know that all things work together, you will have the firm belief that everything works together for good for me. And that is one important aspect we have to know, and which we have lost, even though we usually quote that aspect, but some of us have lost it. Little do we know that when we have a little problem, we have forgotten that everything may be working out for God, for good for us. When we have some little challenges, we usually forget that everything is working out for good for us. So that's one of the things I want to encourage you to know, that everything you might be experiencing, I want this type of thing, I do not get it. I want this type of job, I did not get it. I want to move forward in this way in my ministry, the way I did not get it. I want to relocate to a particular country at a particular time, I could not get it at that particular time. I want to do this thing, I could not do this business, I want it to flourish, I want to get this business. I'm looking for a loan, I'm looking for assistance, I did not get it when you're supposed to get it. Please remember that you should have confidence that everything is working out for good for you. So that is one aspect. And the second aspect is that this thing does not work out for good for you if you don't have any relationship with God. That is why he said in that second aspect, it's for those who love God. Do you really love God? That is the question you ask yourself, and as you ask myself. Because it's you that know whether you love God. And you may ask, yes, I love God. I go to church. I pay tithes. I pay my offering. I attend all fellowships. I do everything. Does that translate that you love God? It may not be. Because you may love God from what you get from God and not who God is. That is one important thing you have to know. Do you love God, really love God, or you love what you get from God? You should ask yourself that question. Because when you are trading many things on the altar of your love for God, then you don't love God. For example, you have some things you're supposed to do for God, even though when you don't get something, but you now say, oh, because I want this one, God understand. Will God understand? You have a skill that God has given unto you, the endowment that God has given unto you. What do you use it for? Instead of you come and use it in the house of God, where they are not going to pay you, maybe free of charge, where the blessing of God will bring your gain. Oh, I want to go to a place where I will be paid. I want to go to another church where I'm going to be paid. Even when you are a minister of God, God has given you knowledge, He has given you wisdom, He has given you the revelation of the word. You are pricing your knowledge. Wherever they invite you for administration, he said that if you don't give me all these things, this is what I want, this is the type of hotel, this is the type of business class I fly, you don't love God. You only love what you get from God. I'm just giving that example for those of you who call yourselves the men of God or even evangelists. You are a singer. You can sing very well. You now become a source of pride unto you. You don't love God because when you sing for God. Even you are the one, you have the skill. Maybe you have the skill to play any type of instrument. You now say, no, I cannot just be playing for nothing. This skill, I have to learn. I learn it. I train for it. I cannot use for God for free or charge. You don't love God. You just love what you can get from God. Or you find yourself in a situation whereby you are trusting God for the bone of your bone. Or you are married, you are trusting God for the fruit of the womb. And then that fruit of the womb is not coming the way you expect it to come. You are a student. You are not in the dean list. You are not making excellent grade the way you want it. You now say, God, I don't think God loves me. I don't think I can sacrifice anything for God anymore. Some of us even refuse to even fellowship with brethren again because what we want, we don't get it. No, you don't love God. And remember, everything works together for good for those who love God. So you should ask yourself, in all your actions, in all your dealings, do you really love God? You are the one to answer that question, and you have to examine your life as I examine my life to answer that question genuinely and truthfully. And the third aspect of it is that when he says that those who are called according to his purpose, this is very fundamental because we see many people now going to different type of ministry, doing various type of things when they are not being called by God. It is only when you are being called by God and for his particular purpose, that is why everything will work together for good for you. So if you are not being called, you are fellowshipping, or if, for example, now you are fellowshipping in a place, and you now say, oh, I don't like this place, you want to become a general overseer, you can establish your own mission. If God has not called you according to his purpose, that mission will not succeed the way you want it to succeed. You are going to struggle. Remember, I've told us several times, which I know very well, that whatever God has not given unto you, and you appropriate it to yourself, you are going to struggle to keep it. That is fact. That is a principle you have to know. So when you are worshiping in a place, and you are in a place, and God has not given you the grace, he has not called you, I want to do this, God has coming, or you just do things any way you are. If God is not ministry to you, I say God is ministry to you. Even what is it that God has called you to? What is the ministry that God has called you to? You are in a place, even you are worshiping, God has called you to the ministry of care, but you now say, I want to go to the ministry of another ministry. And even within the same church, within the same mission. If God has not called you into that, everything will not work for good for purpose for you, for good for you. So that is most important thing you have to understand. The only reason why God will make everything to work for good for you, it is when you love God and it is when you do things according to his purpose, which he has called you. So you must know that it's God that is calling you and not men. That is not your passion that is calling you. It is not even your skill that is calling you. It is not your avarice that is calling you. It is not what you want to eat that is calling you. It is not money or dollar or whatever may be the currency you are spending in your country that is calling you. It is God that is calling you. And when God calls you, whatever may be any challenges you meet, whatever may be anything, is going to end well because everything then will just work together for good for you. And that is one important lesson I want you to take this week. So as I conclude, I want to pray with you that God himself will help you to have the revelation knowledge about what you are doing as a Christian. That you have to know why God called you. God will also help you to be able to show, to demonstrate unequal love for the work of God and for God himself. Not what you are gaining from God, but for God as a person. This is very, very important. And God will also put unnecessary ambition to shirk in you. Ambition that I want to do things that God has not given unto you. Ambition to appropriate to yourself what God has not given to you. The position that God has not given to you. I want to be this, I want to be that. Even in the ministry, God has not given unto you. God has not called you into that. So if God has called you to be ordinary usher in the church, which is not ordinary, but it's a very important, but now you want to become pastor, God has not called you. If God has called you to be somebody who's in charge, just to be leading the choir, you now say, but now I want to be the person to be a pastor. I want to become a zonal pastor. I want to become a general superintendent. I want to become provincial pastor. God has not called you. Everything will not work together for you. You'll be struggling to do all these things you're supposed to do with ease. So this is very, very important. So God will help you. God will be with you. God will help you to do what is right. God will give you the grace and give you the revelation to know what God has called you for and to obey God at all times. And as I close again, I wish you a very good weekend and a very blessed week ahead as I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Tell other people about this channel. Pray about what you have found today. Put into practice and you will see how God is going to bless you. Have a blessed week ahead.